Hello, my name is Darren Ranco. I'm Chair of Native American Programs at the University of Maine. And I'm going to talk to you about MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, as a method of decolonizing university collections. And I'm going to do this over two parts of about 5 minutes each. So, the goals of these discussions to think about decolonization as both a disruptive and to the status quo and a concrete set of actions as it deals with university collections. I will examine the University of Maine Penobscot Nation Memorandum of Understanding related to cultural heritage items as a decolonizing action and ask what other concrete steps the University of Maine and other institutions can take to help decolonize collections and include tribal voice. So just some real quick thoughts on decolonizing. Of course, there are many definitions to this word, and I still think it's an important one to organize our work around. Franz Fanon from 1963 talks about it as a program of complete disorder, but it's definitely cannot come as a result of magical practices, nor of a natural shock or a friendly understanding. Following Tuck and Yang's article from 2012, decolonization is not a metaphor. It must involve the repatriation of tangible things and authorities to Indigenous peoples. And I think that this is how this work in our MOU and other MOUs are oriented. The University of Maine is located on Marsh Island, which, if you can tell from this Google Map image, the Penobscot Reservation is very close by. The traditional Old Town area is actually a Penobscot settlement. We can orient ourselves in our work, obviously across the landscape is critically a Penobscot landscape, and part of this work recognizes that Penobscot places and orientations to University of Maine collections must be at the core of this work. Many places have land acknowledgements. Here's the Abbey Museum in Bar Harbor. Here's the University of Maine, the land acknowledgement we use. I'm mindful that these acknowledgements sometimes are just words on a page. We are trying to make it a reality at the University of Maine that is about decolonizing and recognizing Indigenous authorities over collections and other elements of the university's mission. Sometimes I refer to a parody land acknowledgement where people say that they're just bad at genocide and they're really sorry, but they don't do anything to actually change the means of production or the work of the university. That's obviously not enough. Obviously, at the University of Maine, starting in 1934, there's a fairly long history of work done by both Native and non-Native people to center Wabanaki and Indigenous voices. I don't have time to go into this today, but most universities have this sort of fledgling kind of introductory type of program. How do you make it centered around Native voice and Native concerns from tribal points of view is still an ongoing struggle. Our MOU between the University of Maine and the Penobscot Nation was signed the 10th of May, 2018. It's one of the very first documents ever signed by the University of Maine that recognized that the university is on Penobscot Nation territory and actually recognizes the Penobscot Nation as a distinct sovereign legal and political entity with its own powers of self-governance and self-determination. I think I bring these other elements of the MOU up because these are the frames of this work. In order to do this kind of cultural heritage protection work, which will involve the enacting of TK labels, in particular, it's required to have this level of formal agreement between the university and the tribal nation. There are 5 elements of our MOU, and I'll talk about a couple of them in the next video. IRBs, research boards, collections in the museum, collections in the library, publication related to the press, and then the anthropology department. Stay tuned for part 2.